Welcome back to the Speakeasy Podcast and the very last episode of the year. And I think I say this when I get on the air with my guest today, Erin, but when I was thinking about how I wanted to end this year, Erin was really the only person that I wanted to talk to because she has walked the road that I am walking just a little bit ahead of me. And I have watched her fight this battle to slow down, to step out of good things into different, maybe even better things. And I've learned a lot from her as someone that I love her content online, but then also have had the gift of being able to become friends with her in real life. And I just wanted to talk about slowing down with someone that's done it. Because I've talked about that a fair amount the last couple of months, but it's different to have a conversation with someone that's experienced it, that's years into a process and has insight on what that looks like internally and how it's hard and how obedience isn't always easy and that sometimes the braver choice doesn't make sense to everybody. And so we got to sit down as friends and just yap for almost an hour about battling for our families, for slowing down, and how to do this different in a world that demands rush and urgency from us. And I'm a really big believer that the way we end one season is the way that we begin the next. And while we are dead in the middle of a season of winter, the year is ending and a new year is beginning, and we're setting intentions and we're vision casting into the next year. And I wanted this to be where we landed for the end of this year and moving into next year. And so I adore Erin. She's one of my favorite people online, and it was so great to get to have this conversation with her about things that she's walked through that I'm walking through now. And so I think this will hit for everybody. Erin, welcome to the Speakeasy.
Thank you. It's good to be here. Thanks for having me.
I know before we started recording, I was like, how have we not done this? You're one of my favorites.
Yeah. It's been a long time coming. I'm excited we're doing it now.
You have a lot on your plate. So, I mean, it's understandable that you don't have all the time in the world to podcast all the time.
Yeah. One day.
That season will come. So I was texting you the other day. I was actually in the airport. And I texted you about this post that you put up. I think it was 2023. Maybe it was before that. But it was about being informed and not consumed. And I was like, hey, I don't think I've ever told you that this post was a big deal to me. Because I had watched your journey. I've been following you for forever. I think I've been following you long before you knew that I existed, and I had watched you walk through this season of really intense advocacy and work. And for someone like that I really admired, to say something like that kind of was like, oh, wait, that's an option? Hold on, that's on the table. And I think it was the first time that it made it, that I felt like that could even be something that was available to me. And honestly, it took years. That wasn't like this, switch that flipped and then the next week everything changed for me. But watching you walk through that and just watching you in general, and then getting to be your friend behind the scenes, really has been so inspiring and informed a lot of my journey. And so when I was thinking about how I wanted to end the podcast for this year, you were kind of the only option. That was one of those pitches where you were like, please say yes, because I don't have any other ideas. You are the only person, you're who I want to talk to. And so let's back up a little bit, because if people started following essentially Erin in the last year or two, they're experiencing a different season of Erin than 5 years ago. And so let's back up. Would you say 5 years is fair, or do we need to go further back?
I would say 2018. So
yeah,
7 years.
So more like 7 years. Yeah. What was 2018 Erin up to?
Oh man. So, yeah, it's so funny how I always think of different eras or different seasons, but it feels like an entire different life that you had, that you lived. It's kind of wild to think about. It feels like so long ago, but really it wasn't that long ago. So 2018, let's see, I was just kind of starting let's see, how many kids did I have? I had 4 kids at the time. I was just kind of starting to, I think my Instagram, I'd been educating on Instagram for like 3 years at that point. Um, and really talking about like health, wellness, community, like trying to build community with other moms. I am a registered nurse, but I stopped working when I had my first baby. So I needed some kind of outlet
Hmm.
to help others. Like that's just kind of ingrained in me is like wanting to help other people and educate. I love to educate. So Instagram was like the perfect, I had my first baby in 2013. Um, and I think it was 2015 when I like made a public Instagram account
Yeah.
and started just sharing all the things I was learning about like kind of being a nurse, gone holistic, like gone down the like natural road because I wanted tools at home to care for my baby. So I was in that world of like natural living.
Yeah.
And my Instagram was growing, but it was very different game back then.
Oh,
It was
yeah.
it was like stories weren't even a thing. It was just like the post. I was
Ah,
doing
yeah.
Do you remember Periscope? Were you around for
Oh, yeah.
Periscope? That was where I like really started like talking to people was on Periscope. Anyways, most people are like, "What's Periscope?"
No,
But
yeah.
so then I live in California. I'm from California. I've lived here most of my life, and there was a bill in California that the Senate proposed that, and I've always been a nurse that is really like I really emphasize the importance of informed consent for
Yeah.
any like medical procedure. Everything has a risk reward. You have to kind of weigh the risk reward analysis, right? So I was already vocal about immunizations on my platform and how, like, listen, this is something you have to do your research on
Hmm.
and you have to make an informed decision on. And there needs to be choice because there is risk. And so um, California proposed a bill in 2018. And actually, I had done work behind the scenes for the bill they proposed in, I want to say, 2015, which removed personal belief exemptions. I was trying to like gather signatures with friends and things kind of
Yeah.
offline during that time. So that was really when my advocacy started. But 2018, I had a platform and I was like, you know what? Like, this is a big enough issue. I need to be vocal about it. And I actually hated it so much because there's nothing scarier,
Uh-uh.
especially during that time. Like
Yeah.
2018, like this was a new,
Yeah.
people weren't
You were
talking
on
about
the
this online.
forefront of that for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah.
People like this was a taboo topic online. You
Yeah.
did not talk about vaccines online. And so it was actually terrifying.
Yeah. I
Um,
bet.
but, but I really felt like this is so important. And for me being in California, so I didn't say the bill was to remove medical exemptions in California, which was the last remaining exemption. So most states have personal belief exemption, religious exemption, and medical exemption. This would remove medical exemptions, which is a big problem, I think, because most of these kids who have medical exemptions have had a vaccine and had a bad
Adverse.
reaction to it. Yeah.
Right.
So, so these are kids that are already vulnerable that shouldn't be getting more because they've had a bad reaction and you're going to take away their medical exemption. So
Yeah.
essentially, the only option would be to homeschool them, which
Hmm.
a lot of parents can't even do. And this was something that affected my kids as well. So it was like kind of do or die for me.
Yeah.
It's like this is very personal and I'm very passionate about this. So even though I hate talking about this online, like I'm going to pour everything into fighting this bill. Um, so it started in 2018. 2019 was when the bill really, like there was talk of it in 2018. 2019 was when it actually made it to
Hit
the
the
Senate and
floor.
they were
Yeah.
voting on it. Yeah. And so me and 4 of my friends were chatting about it. They were also 4 other friends that I connected with through Instagram because they were speaking out as well. It was like we were the first little
Yeah.
group that I found that we created, and so we were chatting a ton behind the scenes, like thinking, how can we um, empower people to speak up and like create this like these calls to action that make it easy for people to advocate against this bill. So we were all sitting around. I remember I'm like, they're throwing out ideas for like a group name. I'm like, we need something that is like unifying that
Mm-hmm.
everyone can get behind. And that's where Freedom Keepers came
Yep.
from. So
God,
we
I can
made,
remember
yeah.
those t-shirts so clearly. I didn't even know who you, or I think I just found you,
Yeah.
but those t-shirts were everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah. So it just started with just like me. And I think even two of the girls that started with were like, I'm going to wear a different shirt. One said like separate pharma and state. And I'm like, I'm not wearing that. I'm wearing a shirt that says Freedom Keepers. There was like three of us. And then people are like, we want to order your shirts. And so
Yep.
we made them available. And then people started wearing them to rallies. And it really started out in California, but then other states as well as more and more things were proposed. And then into COVID, like it
Yep.
kind of carried into the
Yep.
COVID movement was, like this is us fighting for our right to choose as parents.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, it just kind of became this cool, like grassroots
Yeah.
movement of moms. I think it was like the original like Maha.
Yeah.
Um,
I would say that. Yeah.
I think it like kind of was just looking back at like all of it and how it's played out. It seems like it was kind of the precursor
It
to
was an
that
on-ramp.
movement. Yeah.
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 Because you knew RFK from that
Yeah.
season.
Oh, RFK, I stood shoulder to shoulder with
Yeah.
RFK at rallies
Yeah.
and watched him speak in the Senate. And yeah, so much respect for him. I mean, he was the only one that really came and fought for us. The only
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
So
And so
I've
that
loved
was a
him ever since.
season you said you had 4 kids?
I had 4 kids.
Yeah. And so you're a mom, but you've got something that you're passionate about that you're fighting for, which meant it was work. You were doing work.
I mean, that took my whole year. It
Yeah.
really like I hate to looking back and I don't regret it at all because I think it was really important work, but I was gone mentally.
Yep.
I was not present a lot for my kids and I was
Yep.
physically gone as well and being in meetings and being at rallies and having at the drop of a hat to run to the Capitol for this or that. And so, I mean, I'm a stay-at-home mom. I was still around a lot, but even the
Yeah.
mental toll that took where if something's weighing heavy on your mind, it is hard to be fully present for your family. So that was my whole year,
Yeah.
2018, 2019. Once
I
the
would
bill
say into
passed,
2020 because then you kind of picked up the COVID fight too.
well, I was going to say the bill passed September of 2019, and it was like, as much as I hated that it passed, it was like I had a chance to breathe again
Breathe.
for a
Yeah.
minute. But then I had my baby February of 2020, our fifth child, and then COVID happened.
Yeah.
So it was like, just kidding. Now we
Yeah.
need you here. And I mean, it was the first couple weeks where I had a baby and I was like, let's just watch and see what
Mm-hmm.
happens. And as soon as we started with like lockdowns and um masks and all these things, I'm like, no, no, no.
Yep.
Like
There's another
this is
fight.
not this is another fight. Yeah, this is not the way to handle this. So then I got kind of drug into that fight. Um and I fully felt like I needed to be doing that at the time. And I again like no regret for that work I did. But yeah, it was a hard few
Yeah.
years for me. It
Yeah.
was like probably beginning of 2019 to like 2022, probably around the
Yeah.
time I made that post was when I was like,
Okay.
all right, passing
Yeah.
the torch for a
Yeah.
minute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is why you're the perfect person to have this conversation with, because here's the thing, like that was your fight. I was in the fight in a different, same realm, different lane. That reality hits for so much more than just like online advocacy or online work. Like women work and women have mental weight that they carry and women have things that they are passionate about. And so this isn't just about you and I, right? Like this is about all of us. This is about even the women that aren't maybe even in advocacy, but are carrying the mental weight of the world that we are raising our children in. And you said something that I think is so important, and I put in bold in my notes when I was kind of brain dumping about what I wanted to talk about, was that you don't regret it. And I was with some girlfriends a couple of months ago as my season started to shift, And I don't know if we can get into it. Like, I don't know if you struggled to put some things down or what that looked like. And we'll talk about that, but I struggled. I battled. I was disobedient a little bit sometimes. And I was with some girlfriends, and my friend said something that I think it was so impactful, and it really helped change my view on it. She was like, that was your assignment. Your assignment has changed. Like, assignments change, seasons change. That doesn't mean that we look back on that assignment and consider it wrong. It was the work that you were supposed to be doing. And yes, it came at a cost. Everything does. Everything comes at a cost. And so this isn't about rejecting those hard seasons that require a lot of us. It's about having the discernment to know when it changes.
Totally.
You
Yeah,
know,
I love
and
that.
so when did that start to change for you? Because I mean, 2018 to 2022, that's a chunk of time. 18, 19, 20, 21. That's 5 years, give or take, that you were kind of on the front lines of this battle online, fighting for something that you believed in, that I think most people that are listening would agree was really important, that made an impact. That's, I think, important to mention as well. I think sometimes it's easy to think that the things that you're doing aren't actually changing anything. And I think that's because we get this global view of change. Like, no. If I made an impact for one person, then so be it, you know? And so when did that start to shift for you?
Oh, I think it was probably something along the lines of what you experienced, where it was a transition. It wasn't like an overnight thing.
Yeah.
And I did wrestle with, like, for doing it for that long, it kind of became part of my identity, right? It was
Oh
like,
no. Yeah.
it was like, this is who you are, this like freedom fighter, like rah rah, like rally the troops, we read it
Yeah.
dawn, and I was like, whoo. At some point though, I just became exhausted.
Yep.
Like, I was burned out. I started to have physical symptoms of like stress overload.
Yeah.
Um, and it just made me, which I don't recommend, like getting to that point
Yeah.
where you're like,
Do not
okay,
recommend.
now don't recommend. Like, my body was screaming at me to just
Yeah.
like take a minute. But I think one of the things that really spoke to me during that time, I remember, is like, I read a quote somewhere, something along the lines of, um, God is not asking you to figure it all out. God is asking you to trust that he already has.
Ooh.
And I was like, okay, yeah, like, it is not actually my humanly job to figure out all of these conspiracies of the world.
Yeah.
Like,
Or save everyone or tell
or
everyone
save
about them.
everyone, right? Yeah, like, my job is, one, my family. Like, I have these beautiful children that I have to be an example to and raise to be able to discern and live a life full of peace, regardless of the chaos of the world, because I do think that God wants us to feel peace amidst the chaos.
Mm-hmm.
And how can I do that if I'm not living that myself?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then two, my job is to move when God asks me to move. So I have this amazing platform, I have a community in person. Like, if he wants me to move, if he wants me to speak, I will always, always do it.
Yeah.
But more often than not, I've learned that in this season for me, he actually wants me to share light in a different way that
Yeah.
isn't always just speaking out on every XYZ tragedy that's occurring, because,
Yeah.
you know, and that takes more restraint for me sometimes, to just be like, you know what? I don't actually know enough to speak on this. This isn't my season to speak on this. I don't feel called to speak on this. So I'm not going to speak on this.
Yeah.
It doesn't, like, when you have a business online too, like, speaking on things, people love it when I speak on things. So it's like, it doesn't actually serve me from a business perspective to stay silent.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like by speaking on things where I feel I shouldn't, that I'm just being disobedient, and the fruits
Yeah.
of that are not good either. So
Yeah.
anyways, it's taken a lot of, like, a lot of just growth and refinement and um practicing discernment on my part.
Yeah.
So
And I think I've texted you, like, I think I texted you not that long ago. I was like, if I get annoying, just tell me. Cause like just watching you do it has helped me so much, because when you said that about it becoming your identity, I was like, oh, I wasn't going to go there, but we could go there, because it does.
Mhm.
Who am I if I am not fighting? Who am I if I am not going to war? And I think I
Mhm.
shared this on one of the Ending Well episodes, from the last couple of months, but I had this really cool experience with God of, I've always seen myself as a warrior. Like, I don't really remember, even when I wasn't battling in the political or online or what, even, I started on the internet fighting hustle culture. Like, I've always been fighting, and I'm pretty good at it. And you are too. Like, it's not that that's not a bad thing having that capability. I think it becomes a problem when it becomes your identity. And the
Mhm.
last 6 months have been God going, I did not design you as a warrior. I designed you as a daughter. I designed you
Mhm.
as a daughter who, when I need her to get in the fight, is obedient. Will you be obedient when I ask you to sit one out? Like, that has been the hardest thing. Cause I mean, the same is true for me. Like, as a business model, horrible
Mhm.
idea to like
Mhm.
not be posting super controversial things all the time. I mean, I saw my engagement drop dramatically when things slowed down. But you mentioned the fruit when you're being disobedient. And I think that the easy to count fruit is like numbers, money,
Mhm.
feedback, people telling you what you're doing is good. And then again, like, those things aren't bad, but do I feel like I'm being obedient? Do I have peace in my spirit? And I think you touched on something so important. Am I modeling for my daughters what I want them to live? And I remember seeing this quote on Pinterest that was like, I do not want to be remembered as a woman that was always exhausted. And
Mhm.
that really hit me. And then it hit me even harder when I realized, and this is, those things where you're like, I swear I was never say this publicly. And then God's like, you should.
Yep.
Where I realized that, like, my girls, when asked how they were, would say they were tired.
Oh,
And I was like, you can't be tired. You're 11. What do you
you're a kid.
mean? You know what I mean? And then,
Yeah.
so I got curious about that. And then you start listening to yourself, and and it was true. I was extremely tired. I had a lot of
Mhm.
the same, I mean, physical manifestations of burnout and exhaustion, different, but similar to you. And so my response was one of honesty, but the truth was ugly, that the
Mhm.
work that I was doing was completely taking me away from this thing that God had given me, and was starting to bleed into the way that they saw life and the way that they saw me. And so the battle for that obedience over the last 6 months has been like, that's been the battle, right? And you kind of alluded to this does not come easily. Slowing down, I think, for
Mhm.
people like you and I, who are passionate, who are capable, who are achievers, it doesn't come naturally, you know,
Mhm.
but the fruit of it is so abundant and life changing. And so, one of the big things that I struggled with was feeling like I was letting people down, like feeling like I
Mhm.
was letting people outside of my home down. Did you feel that way?
Oh, that was my biggest. I've even like made posts about it, like where I'm
Yeah.
like, guys, I feel like I'm not serving you. I'm not providing. I'm not like providing value, right? Because I've kind of passed this torch and that's hard for me to let go of. But like the truth is you can't physically carry that weight for so long. Like
Yeah.
it will destroy you in a lot of ways. I mean,
Yeah.
um, just the mental load, like we talked about that for a second, but it's a constant like
Constant.
I mean, there's constant things going on. So you could literally spend 48 hours a day if you had 48 hours in a day, thinking about, like, talking about, navigating, exploring, like all these
Reading,
different, yeah,
taking
reading,
it all in.
consuming. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just, it never ends. And so I think at some point I just had to be okay with feeling like I was letting people down. I did get, by talking about that, I think I did get some validation of like, hey, like, we get it. Like, this is a lot of hard work you've been doing.
Hmm.
Like, it's okay to pass the torch. It's okay to set it down for a minute. Um, but I definitely still even wrestle with like, oh, like, should I speak on this? Like,
Yeah.
am I not being a good, like,
Steward.
disciple or good steward of what I've been
Yeah.
given by not like using my platform for change, or, for
Yeah.
what I think would make a change?
But and I've made like small comments to the same and get a
Hmm.
ton of the same feedback of people are like, no, 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 like we're here for you. Like I got the kindest DM recently from somebody that was like, I feel like you think we're just here for the headlines. And like we follow you because of you and your discernment
Yeah.
and your wisdom. And obviously, I'm sure that's not the case for everybody. Like she can't speak for everyone. But I also had to get really honest about the fact that am I okay with letting the people that live in my house down? If it
Yeah.
means I don't feel like I'm letting all the people out in the world down, because there were definitely ways that I was letting my family down in that work.
Hmm. Yeah. And I think I've had to, I had that realization too at one point, which honestly with such a big family, like it wasn't really an option for me also to stay in that space, because it was like I
Yeah.
physically can't, like, I'm homeschooling these kids, like
Yep.
I just don't have the time
Yep.
truly to like
Yep.
be going down these rabbit holes and things. But I also had to shift my thinking to be like, you know what? Maybe I am serving my audience or the people in my life by
Exactly.
stepping this out, like
Yep.
taking a seat back, you know?
Yep.
Like there's a lesson to be learned in that too, in recognizing the season of life you're in, um, prioritizing peace
Hmm.
over whatever's going on in the world, because I think that is more important than anything you could do in your life, truly.
Yep.
Um, and just the lessons that can be learned by saying, I want to talk about this, but I just feel like God is not
Yeah.
calling me to. And so I'm
Yeah.
not going to. Like, it's
Yeah.
just that simple, you
Yeah.
know?
That has been a huge theme of the last few months for me I mean, it's like you think that things can't get more on fire and then someone takes a torch to the world and you're
Hmm.
like, "Oh my gosh, how is it burning more?" And there have been so many things that I wanted to speak out on that God was crazy crystal clear. Like one night I prayed and asked if I could speak into something that he had already told me no on, but we're kids, right? We're just big kids and we keep going, but are you sure? Have you changed your mind yet? And so I did one of those. 20 minutes later, I get a text message from someone that I love and trust and is so wise that I haven't spoken to in months. And she was like, "Hey, I hope you haven't touched this. I don't think you should."
Ooh,
God was
yeah.
like, you think you're just gonna
Delete.
get this feeling like a direction one or the other. God was like, no, 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 no. Let me
Yeah.
be so clear, you
Course
know.
correct.
And if I'm honest,
Yeah.
I was asking for permission because I had gotten a crappy DM from someone that was like, "Hey, your silence on this is deafening." And
Yeah.
God used that to go, "Who are you working for? Is it me or is it them? Because it can't be
Mm-hmm.
both." And when I've talked a lot about my husband was home for 2 years and that was great. And my bandwidth was so much greater. And so when he went back to work, same as you, like I quite simply could not. And
Mm-hmm.
I tried to keep the same pace and I couldn't. And I thought that it was a failure, but I've come to the same place is that like this is a season and that in this season I am serving my audience in a totally different way that is just as important and it is just as impactful. And as someone that's benefited from you believing that, then like conversely, that has to be true for me too, right? Like if I'm like,
Yeah.
if I benefit from Erin's obedience and putting it down and going a different way, then people like that has to copy and paste over to me
Right.
as well.
Yeah.
Something broke open in me this week, not from anger, not from outrage, but from clarity. A clarity about what is right and what is wrong and the cost of saying so. And I have watched too many people that I am close to be vilified for standing up for the truth. And I have felt the sting of injustice, but I have also felt courage. And I think we have to be done playing defense and watering down what we believe to be palatable, because silence is not kindness. Silence is consent. And right now, the greatest silence is around the lives that are ended before they have a chance to take their first breath. And if we are going to call ourselves defenders of life, we need to act like it. And that is why I'm asking you to join me to fight back with action and with truth and with love. $28. $28 is what it costs to give a free ultrasound to a woman in crisis who is considering abortion. Just $28 to help her see the life inside of her and to give her the chance that culture won't. So don't sit this one out. Don't wait for permission. Be bold, be clear, be unapologetically pro-life. Go to preborn.com/speakeasy right now. Give $28, give 10 times that if you can. This is the line, and it is time to stand on it. It is time to stand for truth and what is right and save lives from abortion and stand firm in the gospel. Again, that is preborn.com/speakeasy to provide an ultrasound for just $28.
That realization that my number one purpose is actually my family, and
Yep.
by continuing to carry these torches, proverbial torches, like I'm not fulfilling my true purpose, which I do believe God has given me a platform and a voice to reach more people than just my like on in-person circle. But like it means nothing if it's at the expense of my actual family and the ones who need me most, right? And then two, just like not adding or not wanting to add to the noise and the chaos. Like right now, I feel like it takes more discipline and more energy to actually say, no, like
100%.
we're not gonna jump into the chaos. We're not gonna spiral down these like paths of darkness and doom. Like we're gonna remember that God has he already knows the outcome. He's already won. He's already fixed it. Like
Yep.
we're good, right? We just stay the
Yep.
course. We continue to love our people, to be the light, to serve when we have opportunity to serve. Like that is that is for me, that is my life's purpose right now, is just continuing to be the light in a world that feels really dark.
Yeah. Amen. And I think I love that you keep using the visual of the torch. And another thing that, because I kind of have felt the same way, like a bit of the passing of the torch. If I hold the torch for longer than I'm supposed to, your girl loves an analogy. If I
Mm-hmm.
hold the torch for longer than I'm supposed to, one, it's going to start to burn me. And two, I'm
Mm-hmm.
keeping it from somebody that I'm maybe supposed to pass it to. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that there was this wave of women specifically that did the work, that did the advocacy, that were in the arena. And then God asked us to pass the torch because he knows it will burn out. And then the work will be no good to anyone. And so I
Mm-hmm.
would rather pass the torch. It's because you and I have both well established. It's not that I think that the work is not worth doing. It's not that I think that the work is not important. It's that it's no longer my season to do it. And so I would rather free up that space for someone that's just stepping into it, that has the fresh fire, than take up space I'm not meant to take up anymore. And that's
Totally.
been
Yeah.
really helpful in this, because you're right. Like it'd be easier to stay in the ring. I think for people like you and I, obviously there are people that are like, that sounds awful, I don't want anything to do with that. But I think it would be easier to just keep duking it out. But the cost for my family was too great, and the cost to
Mm-hmm.
myself was too great. And so what did you see start to change externally as that internal pace changed?
Oh gosh. I mean, just happier kids. Like
Mm,
I'm more present for my kids, right? I have really just strict boundaries with my phone. So most of the day my phone is down and I'm just with my kids.
yeah.
And um, relationships with friends and family, like I feel like by not constantly consuming heaviness, um, my life and my relationships are just lighter and better and happier.
Yeah.
Um, my relationship with God, like instead of uh, it's not better or worse, it's just different. I feel like
Yeah.
for a while I was kind of like linked arms with him and like, all right, let's go do this. And now it's more like I'm gonna let you guide me, I'm gonna let you lead me, and I'm just
Fight my battles.
yeah, I'm just
Yeah.
gonna be here when you need me, you know? Um, so it's just different in that way, but overall just a lighter, happier, more joyful existence.
Yeah.
Which I think really is what he wants for us, even
Mhm.
despite all the chaos of the world. Like he wants us to feel joy. He wants us to have peace.
Yeah.
So, and that comes from him. And so, um, yeah, I think that's kind of the general feelings I get.
What does it look like for you to be informed but not consumed? Because that's hard. And it's something that I think you and I agree. Like, I don't think we should stick our heads in the sand. I don't think we should not know what's happening around us. But man, that stuff it's just, it consumes so easily. Like, it moves
Hmm.
so fast that it will sweep you up with it.
Yeah, it does. Um, and that's a great question. Someone actually asked me this the other day. So, I mean, it really is just like a practical, like boundary setting.
Boundaries. Yeah.
It's like literally just boundaries. Like I have to be okay with knowing that I can't know everything, but
Hmm.
I still do want to be able to be informed on, generally what's going on in the world. So for me, it's like, okay, I'm gonna hop on social media, I'm gonna do my work, and then I'm gonna spend 30 minutes and I'm gonna just see what's going on. Okay, this happened. Oh, dang, this is crazy. And that's it. Like,
Yeah.
no more spiraling, no more doom scrolling, no more clicking on this link and that link and that link to find like out every detail. I can just be okay with knowing the like surface level of what's happening and like letting the rest go because
Yeah.
I can't consume that type of information, nor does that feel good to just have all of that information inside you weighing on you, your spirit. Like I just feel like we only have capacity for so much information, and I want the world to be 5% and everything else in my own life to take up the majority. So
Yeah.
giving it
Boundaries.
5% of my time, right? Boundaries. Because it is, it's like you can be on that thing for 10 hours a day and still
Yep.
be learning. So
Yep.
yeah, strong boundaries.
I tell
And
people all the
and
time.
sorry, I was also going to say just recognizing when I've had enough. Like I've had to
Yes.
kind of fine tune that, like when I start to feel a heaviness, like a literal heaviness in my chest or like an anxiety or a stress, it's like, okay, time to put it down. Like
Yep.
time to put it down and go live my life because this is not serving me at this point.
Yeah. I tell people all the time that like the apps were created to be addictive.
Hmm.
And if you can go into it with that mindset, it really changes the game. That this is meant to pull me in and sweep me up and keep me here. And that applies even if your algorithm doesn't feed you a single political advocacy headline, right?
Yeah.
Even if you're just if you're on Amazon Instagram, like it's still created to
Yeah.
keep you there. And it requires crazy strong boundaries. And it's kind of funny now, as someone that works on the internet, I have stronger social media boundaries than like anybody I know. Then we'll be somewhere and
Mm-hmm.
I will be the only one not on my phone. And I think it's
Mm-hmm.
because I have to fight for it harder. And so I just keep pushing that as far as I can. And I really love the concept of kind of exactly what you were saying, that we weren't meant to know everything. And I didn't used to believe that, if I'm honest. I used to think like the pursuit of information was the
Mm-hmm.
ultimate pursuit, and that the more you could know, whether that was about what was going on in the world or what was going on behind the scenes or just educationally. And that's different from growing in wisdom. That's different from
Mm-hmm.
growing in discernment. And when I kind of pivoted on that belief and realized that what you said, that wasn't serving me, I started hearing people talk about that we were created to know like what was happening in our community. And then like maybe a little bit outside of that and even less outside of that. And you kind of view it as this ripple effect. And what I realized was, because I was so focused on the outside ring of the ripple, I didn't know as much as I should know about the center of it, that I was more like in tune with that than my home base and my local community and the people across the street from me. And that was a big
Mm-hmm.
turn that I have tried to make, is acknowledging my capacity. And I have a pretty big capacity. I think that's why, and I think you do too. And I think that's why we were able to stay where we stayed for so long. But if you take that capacity and you bring it home, oh my gosh. I had somebody, or I was on another podcast recently, and she asked about kind of have I realized that I have more margin now that I've slowed down? And I'm like, to an embarrassing extent, to a like convicting extent, that I was I was drowning myself in so many other things that all of this important work seemed so stressful, and like I had
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
so much on my plate. And that when I gave my mind and my heart and my body some space, like, this is so doable. This is not, I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, motherhood is hard work, and it is demanding, but it wasn't what I felt like it was, because I was maxing out my capacity, not at
Mm-hmm.
home.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I've totally all of that. Like feeling like we can handle all this information and then realizing like exactly what you just said. When I'm not operating at this, like feeling every single second of my day,
Yeah.
the capacity to do so much more good, like in my own circle is, and I can tell friends now, like, I'll be trying to plan something with friends and they're like trying to find a time and I'm like, we're free whenever. Like, I really, I'm so intentional about having so much free time that we can just be available for
Yes.
people for needs because life is changing and needs change. And so I just feel like living on the opposite end of that now, where I was like maxed out, drowning, to really feeling like I can thrive in motherhood and I can thrive in my marriage and I can thrive by having good like life work balance. The contrast is stark.
It is.
And I'm so protective of my time. Um, I also feel like when you're constantly taking in that information, I mean, social media is, I think it's a tool Satan uses to keep us distracted too from what our purpose is.
Yeah.
So, you know, so it's like by
And we're
setting those
saying that as two people
boundaries.
that make our livings on social media. Like,
I know. So having those firm boundaries because I know that if I give it too much of my time, I'm not actually being obedient and I'm letting Satan like control me through this
yeah.
device, right?
Yeah.
So, um, yeah, I'm a big fan of like creating tons of space in my day. I don't want to rush anywhere. Obviously, sometimes rush is warranted, but even like I was learning a while ago about like just the stress we feel when we're rushing.
Mm-hmm.
And then that like spikes cortisol and that actually lasts for a very long period of time, which like ages you and it causes all kinds of problems in your body. And your kids feel that. I'm like,
Yep.
oh wow, like we need to not actually rush. Like there's no
Yep.
rush in our home. Everything's like,
Same.
you know,
Yeah.
so just even little things like that have made a huge, huge difference in the overall like feeling of peace in our home,
Yeah. No, I would say
which
the
I
same.
really I'm very protective of that.
Yeah. And I think that you're rushing more when you're super sucked into all of that because you
Hmm.
lose track of time. And then you're like, oh crap, we got to get out the door. Or,
You
oh, we
lose
like
track of
forgot to do
time.
this.
You lose track of time, and you're also just living in a heightened state of like
Fight or flight.
stress.
Yeah,
Yeah, which makes you feel rushed. So it's kind of like a double-edged sword there,
it is. It is. And I,
But
I think you and I both like I have a deep love for social media. Like I started out
same.
blogging. I am an
Hmm.
internet dinosaur and you are too. Like I love
Grandma.
connecting. Yes, like I love being here. It's not about villainizing something. It's about taking something that can be used as a tool of the enemy and using it as a tool for light and for
Yeah.
good. And back in I think October, I did an episode with Tilly Delahaye. She wrote the Screw Tape Letters, but from a female perspective.
Oh, okay.
It's so good. But we talked a ton about the battlefield of our attention span, which is basically what you
Mm.
just brought up. And that episode probably is one that stuck with me the most this year. And it was honestly kind of pivotal for me that she used this analogy she used an analogy in the book about social media and about our phones. So if people aren't familiar, Screw Tape Letters is a demon writing to another, like a minor demon, teaching the other demon how to like oppress the patient. And when they're talking about social media, she used this analogy that humans are walking down a road and that when they're looking at their phones, it lifts their feet off the road and it just drags them. They just
Mm.
float through it. And I was very convicted to recognize that I wouldn't say holistically, but more of my life was spent that way than I would than I would like want to hand down to my children, or that I would be comfortable with maybe like an outsider looking in, seeing. And that was when I bought a brick. The little like brick device. That was when I bought a brick because I was like, maybe I don't have the self-control to do this all on my own. Like let me pull something in that will help with that. And what it's done is it's cut back significantly on the constant like urgency culture that I was
Hmm.
living in, which is what you just said. Like the rushing goes so far beyond get your shoes on and let's get out the door. It's a
Yeah.
way that we're living our lives. And if you're living your life with your nose in your phone the whole day, then there's no margin and you're living in fight or flight. And I think I think you and I both would go 10 toes down and go, that's not the life God created us for,
100%. Yeah.
no matter
Yeah.
what work he's put in front of you.
I think, like you said, this is such a great tool. I'm pointing to my phone, like connected to me. I mean, the good that this has brought to my life, and I know so many others, even just through relationships, through this, like what I've learned on this
Yeah.
phone, right? Incredible. But you can also take it too far. So I think it's again just those boundaries. I need to try that brick thing.
I can't
I'm
believe you
super
don't
curious.
have one. Like that just means
I
you're
know.
just like a beast with crazy self-control because
Well,
you do
when
a
I
really
put my
good
phone,
job.
I do okay. When I put my phone down, I feel like I get so like swept up in other things that I just
Yeah.
kind of can forget about it. It's when I pick it up that I have to like really just
Yeah.
like check my time on there. Um, but oh, what was I gonna say? Oh, I love this analogy of when we're talking about like rush and hurry, and it really is the way you move. Like living a slow life is so intentional, and it's not just like not having an unscheduled life
Yeah.
because we all have a busy schedule, but it's like literally just the way you move through life. Like when you're preparing a meal, when you're
Yep.
having a conversation, when you're getting ready for bed, it's the way you move right through life is
Yep.
just unhurried. And that takes practice, I think. But I love the analogy of, and I don't know what made me think of this. I think you were doing this analogy, and I I
Hmm.
was thinking about um the analogy of a river that's kind of rushing, right? Or a pond where the water is really like flowing and it's what does it look like on top? It's all kind of rippled. You can't
Hmm.
see your reflection in it clearly. But when it's calm and still, then you can actually like pause and reflect.
Yeah.
Um, and for me, when I'm busy rushing, I don't have that time of reflection. And I think that is really detrimental to my spirit and to just my growth, my ability to connect with Jesus and my relationships with others, right? Like you need that daily reflection.
Yeah.
And when we're constantly just rushing, and there's no stillness, like how can you pause to reflect and see what's looking back at you and what the actual fruits of the life you're living are?
Yeah.
So, that's another just analogy I love to when I'm
Yeah.
talking about that. But
No, that's so good. Well, and I think
anyways,
you the how you move through life is a huge part of it. I saw a
mm,
reel the other day and it was like, if you're constantly cleaning like this, and it was this girl just really frantically like getting things done, then like your nervous system is in fight or flight and you need to take a deep breath, and I catch myself like that literally yesterday. So after seeing that, I've tried to be more mindful about just the way that I do things as someone with, and same as you, like a lot on my plate, right? Like
a
I only
lot, yeah.
homeschool two children and it's a lot,
It's a
and
lot. Hmm.
running a business and running a home and serving in my community and trying to, like have some semblance of a social life is a lot. And most women that have a lot on their plate. But I was like doing the dishes and I was like, okay, like you're not being chased by a bear. Like you are loading the dishwasher. It's okay. And just doing it more slowly, I think, and we've kind of alluded to this, is like the braver choice,
Hmm.
honestly. As someone that is dismantling a warrior, fighter, performer, producer identity,
Hmm.
we associate strength with output, speed, visibility, to-do list all being checked off. And those can be strengths. I'm not knocking any of those things, but you and I have both testified to that it sometimes can take way more bravery to slow down and
Hmm.
be still and let God fight your battles and let him heal you and do the work in you so that you can continue doing the work he has for you. And that has been the most disorienting direction that God has taken my life. I mean, I said at the top of the show, like I remember that, God, I remember that Inform Not Consume post. Like I can drop back into my body and see it and just being like, oh, I love this for Erin, but it's probably not for me.
Mm.
Like genuinely feeling that way. And that I had no idea like the bravery that it took for you to do that. And now stepping into it, I'm like, oh, like a slower life is the harder choice because we live in a
Hmm.
world. I mean, we've talked about just social media, but we live in an entire world and an entire culture that wants us to go at the pace that it lives at.
Hmm.
School, um, like sports, social events, even like good things like serving at your church or serving in your community. Like
Hmm.
it becomes this beast of its own. And so the battle I'm finding, like the battleground that God has me on now is for slow.
Hmm.
And it's wild and it's weird. And I'm so thankful for people like you that have like, that, I feel like I've gone ahead a little bit. And so what other than like your social media or like your boundaries with your phone, is there anything else that you've like implemented in that pursuit of like slower and peace that you feel like would serve people? Because this is the last episode of the year, so this is like how we're ending
Yeah.
this year is how we're starting next year, really.
Yeah. And I think like we're we're in winter, right? Like December,
Mm-hmm.
January, like so if you think about the natural seasons of the year, like we are supposed to be slowing. We're
Yep.
supposed to be cozy and hibernating and just like that's just the natural rhythm of the season. And so I've learned, I actually used to hate winter because it forced me to slow down. And I'm
Yeah.
not someone that likes to slow down, but it's like, oh, it's raining outside, it's dark, it's cold, like it gets dark at 5 p.m. Like I hate having to just like slow down in this way, but I have learned to love it so much because it
Yeah.
is like a reset. Even earlier this month, I was like, okay, like, we've moved, we're in California now. So I feel like I've kind of like, that's a whole other
Yeah.
topic,
That's
right?
a
For
different
another
podcast
day.
episode.
That's a whole other thing. But we were in Tennessee for the last 5 years, much slower pace of life. We were in like rural, we lived on a farm, so very slow. We're back in California. It's been very easy to kind of pick up that
Yeah.
fast-paced life that I had again. And I've had to really now intentionally be like, no, like, let's pull it back. And that looks a lot like saying no to even really good things.
Yep.
Most of the things, I mean, I'm not going to give anything that's not good my time, but
Yeah.
pretty much everything I'm saying no to is a really good thing that I would actually want to do or love to do. But I am recognizing that I function better as a human when I'm not overscheduled and when I'm not like rushing from one thing to the next. So, like I even see, and I love this. And maybe I'm just not this mom, but I see moms do like the 25 day of Christmas, like Advents, where they have something like every single day. Even that, I'm like, whoo, like that feels like a lot for me,
Yeah.
So,
And it's
some
acknowledging
moms,
your capacity.
it's just my capacity. I have
Right.
friends who love that and live for it and like knock it out of the park and they're great. And I'm like, that I love that for you. Recognizing that that is not where I thrive. That's not the speed I thrive at.
Mm-hmm.
Has taken some process to get there, right? Which we've talked about. But so obviously that won't speak to everyone, but just protecting my time. We have probably like 5 or 6 things we do in the month of December that we really, really love. And the other nights, I just make room for being home,
Yeah.
cozy around the fire, like
Yeah.
reading books with my kids. Like, hey, mom, can we bake cookies tonight? Yeah, sure, let's
Yeah.
bake cookies. We've got
Because we have the
nothing going
time.
on. Yeah, we have the time.
Yes.
I have found that those are the times and the moments I cherish more than anything with my kids. And so it's not necessarily not even wanting to be busy because I do enjoy being busy to an extent. It's just recognizing that the times that I have unscheduled are actually my most favorite times.
Yeah.
And like letting the magic of motherhood unfold in those moments where when we're scheduled and rushing, that can't really happen. So,
Yeah.
just finding that perfect balance between like going and doing these few fun activities, but leaving plenty of space for um, just whatever
Being.
needs to unfold in our home, right? And
Yeah.
yeah, just existing and
Yeah.
being together, playing games, doing puzzles. Like we love a game night in our home. Those can't happen if we have something every night. And that's where
Yeah.
we truly like can connect with each other. So I just try to really protect that time for my
Yeah.
family. And it's great. I love December now. I love winter. Despite like not having sunshine, I hate that part of it. I'm like, I need sun. But I love the pace of just being able to like have an excuse to really slow down
Yeah.
even more than I try to do in a different season. So
And I think that that should carry over into January. Like I really do. I've always like I think it's so completely ridiculous that we think a whole new life starts at the dead middle of winter. That's just not
no,
reality. And that's as someone that I love a word for the year. I love an intention for the year, but I have largely put aside rigid goal setting, anything that's like numerical in order of how I'm going to do this year. And I really have found that just allowing December to transition into January, maybe without the Christmas tree and without the little, like fun things to do, but with that same spirit serving my family, that on ramp to the year is so much better than thinking that when the ball drops on tonight, when this episode comes out, when the ball drops tonight, that like, boom, we're back in it. We're back in the fray. No, I don't want to be in the fray,
no,
period. There are going to be
yeah,
busier seasons. There are going to be seasons that require more of us. But if I think I can live my whole year that way and just in December, slow down and build margin and a slower life, there's everything we've just mentioned in this episode is not going to be able to be possible because there won't be any space for it.
yeah. why are we doing that to ourselves? I have never been like a New Year's resolution person because I'm like, you're telling me that like December is cold and dark and we get through this crazy like fun, but like this holiday season and then boom, I have to like
Yeah. I used to be
reinvent
that girl.
myself.
Yeah. It was
What?
awful.
What?
Do not recommend.
Terrible.
Like
Terrible.
terrible.
No. Talk to me in March, okay? Let's talk.
Yes. Exactly.
That's
Which,
when I like spring, right? Like you come
yep.
alive, the weather is warm, the sun's out a little more. Like that seems much more realistic than
Yes.
January 1.
100%. If people take anything away from this episode, let it be boo on New Year's resolution. So that
Boo.
like boo on it. Honestly, like I said, I already like I like spending December with some intention with God about like the word and the intention for the next year, because I can't control that this is the way that the calendar year works. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and I think as I'm spending December slowed down, that's a really good time to connect with God and get that feedback and kind of get some direction on that. But I am not starting a dang new thing. In fact, I'm trying to still do less. I'm still looking for what I
Mm-hmm.
can take off of my plate in
Mm-hmm.
January. And then because then I can like, yes, this things speed up in the spring. Everybody comes out. We're going and doing a little bit more. And I have the energy and the capacity to, because I wintered, because I slowed down.
Yep.
And it's a battle. That I think has been the theme of this entire episode, kind of unintentionally, is that slow is a battle, but it is one, I think you and I will both testify that it is one worth fighting.
Yeah.
And that is for anyone, like what, regardless of what your work looks like, if you have 10 kids or no kids, if you have a full-time job or you get to make your own hours, there is still a fight for slowing down and going a different way to be fought. And that's a road worth walking with God.
Absolutely. Yeah. Totally agree. I think like another one is like the radio analogy. Like there's always like God is always talking to you, right? And there's always that static, which is like the rush.
Yeah.
And if you can slow it down, then it comes through more clearly. Like I
Yeah.
cannot actually hear him when I'm rushing. So um I'm all for that. Like we're letting go of New Year's resolutions.
Yes.
We're having a slow January. We're
Yep.
baking cookies and
Yep.
making hot cocoa and sitting by the fire and reading books.
Amen. Yes.
I mean,
We're
yeah,
wintering.
yeah, wintering, hibernation, absolutely.
Yeah.
Spring is a more appropriate, like, there's new life, there's warmth, and then summer, like busy summering, but winter
Yeah.
is for slow. And I think I think that it's designed that way for a reason, like,
100%.
right? Like, we need a season of rest.
Yep.
So
Yep. I
I
love it.
fully embrace it now.
I
Just
love it. I
embrace
love
it.
you.
Yeah,
This was,
love
I
you.
think, this is exactly the way I wanted to end the year and kind of put a cap on one of the weirdest years of my life, for sure, but one that God has used so abundantly in so many ways. And so I'm just genuinely, I know I've kind of fangirled, which I can't fangirl because you're my friend girled, whatever, the whole episode. I love you. I think there's a lot to be learned from you in terms, like I learned from you in terms of like what to do for my kid when I have a fever. I reference that highlight bubble on your page often. And then also like how to walk through this life in a way that carries with like integrity and intentionality. And so I'm super thankful for you. Thank you for your time today.
Oh, you're sweet, and I feel the same about you. Thank you so much for having me.